Hello and welcome to the trade setup. In this video we are looking at Ondas. It is time for another update and we've had some interesting developments since the previous video. We have broken the area of resistance we have been tracking within the smaller time frame that intended a direct extension in this wave to the downside, but nonetheless, on this chart we haven't had the most bullish outlook, where we were looking to reach at least the $7.3 at the 23.6% retracement, the first level of support for a large wave 4, before looking to extend to new all-time highs. Now, today we will also present a hyper bullish count, a hyper bullish roadmap that could be used already from the structure that is in place on this chart, but I will highlight that this is for those of you who do your own research and pair that up with the roadmap that we provide here, because this is not a guaranteed setup, this is not a guaranteed structure, and as it is outlined very clearly here within the orange interpretation, this structure doesn't need any additional extensions to higher prices to have a substantial top in place. We have a 3-wave movement to the upside complete. We wouldn't require any additional highs to be able to look even for extensions to new all-time lows. Now, for context, we have been tracking actually a number of interpretations on this chart. Here in yellow, we have the idea of a larger leading diagonal, where we would have a wave 1 up, a wave 2 down, and this would be our wave 3, still in formation. Now, this wave 3 could fit in also the extension we are tracking in the white structure, and the same applies for the orange interpretation. That could also fit in the extension of the white structure. But at the same time, it could fit a top to be in place where a larger correction would be forming already. Yeah? We have here a wave A up, a wave B down, and we would be looking for the wave C to take us to even higher prices within a larger wave 3 to the upside. Now, the ideal target for such a wave 3 would be the 138.2% extension of the wave 1, the $16 level. We have actually gotten very close to this in our latest extension to the upside, and we've had actually a very lucrative roadmap for this chart. Yeah, we have been expecting basically exactly an ABC structure to form within this area, and I'll be honest, we were preferring to form another high within this area, which would have also allowed us to reach the ideal target. But when we failed to hold internal levels of support for a correction in wave 4, we were looking for a top to likely be in place within this structure to reach the larger area of support within most of our interpretations. Yeah, there is the corner case of a possible extension within this movement to the upside, yeah, within this as a larger structure, but it wasn't a high probability pattern, and it still is not. Now, if you so far enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe if you want to receive more such updates on these various stocks that we provide. We actually post multiple videos daily, and if you want to support us directly, you can even check out our channel membership. And as a thank you, I want to even invite you to sign up for our channel newsletter, which is completely free, where we identify for you high quality structures where you have clear levels of accumulation, clear levels of support, clear levels of invalidation for the structure we are tracking to higher prices, where you're not looking to buy at the top. No, we are looking always to buy within the retracements where the risk is low and the potential is high. So you get great risk-reward ratios within our trade setups that we offer here on this channel and in our newsletter. So link is in the description. Completely free, just leave your email and we will be updating you as well. Now, in this movement to the upside, we have been looking, as I was saying, for the possibility of an extension, but that wasn't a high probability structure. So it was within this wave 5 of a wave C, either in white, either in orange, doesn't really matter. And we have the area of support in blue. However, this is not a high quality structure. We have even failed to get an extension to higher prices within this movement to the upside we have been tracking as a wave C. What is that telling us? Well, nothing too good, nothing too bullish. So I wouldn't trust this too much. We have, of course, managed to break here the $11 level. That has been a positive sign, but still, we don't see a lot of strength. We don't see a lot of clarity within this structure that would be suggesting to us we should see continuation to higher prices. And all it really forces me to assume is that this has formed a bottom within a wave A. We would have here a wave B up, and a wave C could still take us to lower prices, yeah? Nothing particularly bullish that has been forming within this area. I could even throw here an area of resistance we would track for such a pattern, for such a structure, and I would be watching here even a possible overshoot. That would of course be nice to get. It is usually a bullish sign, but unless we manage to create a more clear pattern to higher prices, I would probably highly prefer that we extend directly lower in this red, and I would actually prefer to track this in white structure to form a wave C to even lower prices. Yeah, we can notice we pushed into the 61.8% retracement, and we are looking to potentially fulfill a wave 4 in this structure. Now, since we have the possibility of tracking a full count within this orange interpretation, I am regarding this as a very, very low quality trade setup. Better said, I wouldn't even consider this a trade setup. Sure, if we identify within a smaller time frame an initial 5-wave move to the upside, it could turn interesting, but until such is the case, from an Elliott Wave perspective, this is going to be a low quality pattern, a low quality structure, and the theory isn't telling us what is happening, what is going on. It is rather telling us that the pattern is unclear, that the probabilities aren't particularly high in any direction, and that looking for opportunities elsewhere might not be a bad idea. Now, we were talking in the beginning of the video about this idea of a hyper bullish interpretation, and this of course will be affected by the overall market, by the conditions. For example, if there is a lot of demand for their products, for their drones, we could be looking at something much more bullish. And I have been exploring such ideas on this chart, and I have been considering, well, what if this was instead an overshoot? So I brought out my useful, handy Fibonacci tool to track the Fibonacci retracements for a potential overshoot in a larger WXY structure. What do we see here? Well, we have pushed into the 138.2% retracement. Yeah, that is commonly known as the limit for an overshoot within a wave B before resuming our correction. So I could just fine regard this as a running flat correction where I could be looking to track a hyper bullish structure where this would have been instead a larger 1-2 setup, where the wave 2 would have still bottomed here, but the wave 1 would have topped here. We can even identify an impulse within this wave 1 in this interpretation. So overall, this would be expected to have quite lucrative potential. Now, is this the most likely interpretation? I wouldn't consider it to be the case. I would still be skeptical of such potential, but depending on the outlook of this company, once we form a correction in this area and we start the next movement to the upside, if it is an impulse worthy of a wave 3, this is a structure we could be following. So there is potential on this chart, but it is yet to be realized. It is yet to be materialized because as it stands right now, within many interpretations, we actually have a quite substantial top. In fact, let me even remove some of this clutter. It's not really necessary to track that at this point, and I will prefer to probably just hide it at this point. But only within a white structure in this area are we looking to potentially extend to higher prices from the large time frame perspective. Sure, there is the blue structure that would allow a direct extension. I wouldn't consider that to be something trustworthy. In fact, based on the internal structure within this area, it is rather being suggested to us that we could very easily see this wave C to have already started extending to lower prices. Now, what does this green interpretation expect in terms of the pattern to the upside? So I would be looking at this to be a very, very large wave 3 to the upside, yeah? This wouldn't imply that we would have the wave 3 complete within this structure. That would be even an impossibility because we are looking at a diagonal structure formation in this push to the upside. it is a structure we can consider a 5-wave pattern. We can consider this to be a wave 1 part of a larger wave 3 to the upside, but it's no different than what we would track here in the case of the yellow structure in terms of support for a larger A, B, C pattern. Now, the fact that there is confluence between multiple scenarios does improve the probabilities of this structure to manage to extend to higher prices. But at this point, we still need to be patient, and I know there is a lot of interest in the drone stock, yeah, market sentiment can shift, something more bullish could be building in a much more direct fashion, but as I see it right now, we are towards the end of this trend to the upside. I don't see any strong indication that we would be extending to higher prices. This 4 and a 5 we are tracking within the white interpretation is not a necessity, once again, and we could be looking at a top 2 already be in place very easily, where I believe I have already shown you this large area of support. We could be looking to be either within the ABC structure in yellow or the 1-2 setup within the green interpretation, but in either case we would be looking to reach at least the $4.4 level. Now, with this in mind, we can move into the smaller time frame to highlight some ideas of what we could expect, especially if this wave C to the downside has already started. So, in terms of the ideal target, and we can even bring back the blue structure for this idea, we would be looking for this wave C to reach the 100% extension of the wave A, right? That would be around the $6.8 level, 6.7, yeah, around that area. And keep in mind, this is an ideal target, it doesn't need to get there, and of course it doesn't need to stop there, but we would expect this wave C to build a 5-wave pattern. Now, at this point, I can only identify more clearly a 3-wave structure in this area, yeah, an A, B, C pattern that has formed. So my first instinct would be to look for an ending diagonal within this wave C. Now, today we won't be going through the entire count of how this could be unfolding. What instead I would like to see is if we manage to build here a 5-wave pattern to the downside that could allow this to be a wave A within the larger wave 3 in the wave C, and then we would be watching the levels up to the 50% retracement, so the $10 level, and then it could theoretically also build a wave C. It could complete a wave C in this area where, while I don't find this a likely interpretation, this being a larger A, B, C structure could work out within the larger wave C in the blue interpretation, but it wouldn't be a reliable trade setup. However, we would still have an internal area of support we could theoretically track for such an assumption, and here I would be watching down to the $9 level. That could be around the area we would bottom within an internal wave 5 in this structure. So yeah, this could very well form a more substantial bottom, at least expecting a larger relief rally from this region once we have a 5-wave move to the downside complete. And to be clear, this is not necessary, but rather ideal. It would make the structure slightly easier to track. And I have already shown you the larger resistance area. I wouldn't focus on the reversal in the wave C to the upside in blue at this point. If we get more evidence, sure, we can take more interest in that. But at this point, I believe we can stop here. So these are the levels. This is the trade setup. I hope you enjoyed the video. And if you did, don't forget to subscribe and let me know what else you would like me to cover. And I'll do my best to do that in the days and weeks ahead. And until then, I hope you have a nice day and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye bye.